Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amy Bohr. I am the Education and Events Coordinator for TMC. And this is our very first episode of TMC Success Stories. Real quick behind the scenes, we decided as a team at TMC that we really wanted to spotlight these amazing stories that we hear all the time between our preferred partners and our lender members, and how they've come together, and the benefit of just being part of the network and the relationships that are formed out of that. So our first culprits are Bobby Nicely from Alcova Mortgage and the one and only David Lykken from TMS Advisors, as well as his podcast. I'm sure everybody knows him. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and let David interview Bobby, and you can tell us about how TMS Advisors has really helped Alcova Mortgage. Go ahead.
Well, Amy, thank you so much. Kudos to the success that TMC is having, doing a great job working with all of us. And I'm thrilled to kick off this series on it with a good friend. And it's like a brother. Actually, in many senses, he is. So anyway, Bobby, I think it may be meaningful to share with our audience, how we originally connected.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was always a big fan of your podcast. And, of course, I also like the fact that you're a person of faith. I think that drew me to you as well. But I found a lot of value in what you had to say and your experience and your perspective in the industry. So, yeah, I was a longtime listener of the podcast before I reached out to connect to you. And before ultimately we came to TMC as a result as well of your recommendation. But yeah, the path started with the podcast and a couple of years of listening, and then our relationship, and then on to TMC. And of course, TMC has been a great partner for us as well.
I think it might be helpful for those listening to this, whether listening live or down the road on a downloaded basis, is what were the services that you were seeking for from an advisor? Not just me, but as you were looking and considering having an advisor, what were the services you were looking for to help the business?
Yeah, so primarily leadership and executive coaching. I think we all have strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes, when you get to a point when your company starts to grow, your weaknesses become more and more evident to you. But as far as what to do about that and what else you need in your company, sometimes it's much better to have outside perspective on that. And that's what you've given us, is a detached perspective, to come in and say, based on my experience, based on what I see in the industry, here are some ideas, here are some thoughts for your company, and then for you individually, and also help us to identify what our best role, I have two partners, so there's three of us, what our best roles are in the company. What should I be more involved in? What should I be less involved in? What should I defer more of, or what maybe should I get into a little bit more and dive into a little bit deeper? Also benchmarking and all those types of things. But the executive leadership and the perspective were really big for us.
Well, one of the things a lot of people think is the only time you need an advisor is when you're in trouble. You are one of the most, in fact, I think I can boldly say you are the most profitable mortgage lender we work with out of all of our clients. And you're obviously successful doing things right. So the myth that we need an advisor when things are not going well, if you could just speak to that real briefly, and then let's start getting into results that you've realized.
Sure. Well, I'm a big sports fan. And if you look at any professional athlete, they want to be coached and they want to be great. I heard one time that, if good players want to be told the truth, but great players want to be coached, and they want to be coached to be great. So if you want to be great, then I feel like you have to be willing to be coached. You have to be willing to kind of be vulnerable a little bit and just say, hey, what can we do better? And sometimes you really need that outside perspective to help you with that. And so for us, the three of us, myself and the other two, growing up in sports and that culture, felt comfortable being coached. But of course, then, you do want to align with somebody that shares values. And that's where I think the fact that we're both, have faith as an important part of our lives and things like that drew us to you specifically.
Yeah. I think the alignment of values is an important thing to have, and make sure you have that. And we are fortunate to have that. It doesn't always work out that way, but it is, for me, a real extra blessing that we can at least go to some common denominators, some really the you might say golden rules to basically to run the business by. But let's talk about some results for a minute. What are some of the results, if you could give some examples of benefits of working with me and our firm?
Sure. So, one of the things would be just executive leadership, the ability to not just speak through us, but other team members and help them. The same you did with us, identify weaknesses, strengths, and some departmental things that we could correct. Perspectives and industry, things that other companies are doing that are working that you brought to us. And during COVID, I mean, there was some tremendous value that you brought during COVID. Those are really trying, stressful times. So just having a steady voice to say, okay, here's what I'm hearing, here's what's going on, here's what's coming out of Fannie, here's what's coming out of Freddie, here's what the insiders are saying. Watch for this, look for that. That was invaluable. And then, you were able to also to help us secure a warehouse group when many others were not, weren't even allowing applications. But due to your expertise in the industry and your reputation, you put us in touch with a bank president who said, sure, no problem. If David Lykken sent you, we'll get you a warehouse line. So we were growing rapidly, volume was growing, and it was a weird time in the industry where banks were, it was like a mini credit crunch where banks had stopped accepting new applications. But because of our relationship, we were able to get a new lender relationship, warehouse lender relationship, and that was significant. That alone, that one moment, was worth any kind of investment we had with you all year.
That's good. I think it's oftentimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think then it's, if you know them in the right context, I think it really helps. Another thing that I wanted to focus on a little bit is one of the things we talked about in leadership was you have two partners. I think it's a great story because you guys have been friends and close friends playing sports together since junior high. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah. And so you guys are working together. So you already have worked out so many of the differences that you have. And there is some unique differences between the three of you. We refer to you as 3 a.m., three leaders of Alcova Mortgage, the 3 a.m. I love that title. One of the things we have talked about, and you had expressed some frustration about, it seems like we're the only ones coming up with ideas. And so we ran this one survey, or this one assessment on your company. It's called the 6 Working Geniuses, that's recently come up with Patrick Lencioni. And we discovered something that was fascinating. Talk about that.
Yeah, the 6 Working Geniuses was one of there are several assessment tools you've helped us with. That was one of the ones that was more, or the most enlightening, to kind of see, there are some people that are wired to think creatively. I mean, I think we know this intuitively, right, but to see the real results, the real tangible results, and be able to talk about it as a team was extremely helpful for our team. Because on one hand, you have people that are wired to think creatively and ideas tend to come to them, and you have other people that are they're more likely to take the idea and galvanize it and say, all right, the idea is good, let's go. And then you've got people that are actually going to implement it. And it takes all types of people. And I don't remember the exact 6, but there's from one end of the spectrum, which is the ideation folks. Yep. Which I'm more on that end, the wonderment, the ideation. I can dream up ideas, but then you've got people that say, okay, nicely, but we got to get it done. So you can sit there and dream all you want, but we got to get it done, and you need those people. And it's okay that those people aren't necessarily created with the gift of ideation, because it takes all talent. And of course, you need the galvanizers. The galvanizers are the people that get people on board and that kind of help the gap between here's the idea and how do we execute it, and they help fill that gap. So I think just seeing that and letting our folks know it's okay that you're not one or the other, because you see my strengths are here, but here's my weaknesses. Your strengths complement my weaknesses. So that's what makes a great team.
And I think one of the things in this particular case was it solved a frustration, or explained a frustration. And all of a sudden, when you have understanding, compassion, because if you're trying to get someone to sing that is tone deaf, you're going to get frustrated. But if you take an assessment and you find out this person's tone deaf, in this case, your group, your management group, is a get her done group, which is why you're so successful. The owners, 3 a.m., you and your 2 other partners, are really good at thinking out of the box and developing the business. And so we answered that real challenging part of it. Let's talk a little bit as we get ready to wrap this up. Let's talk a little bit of how long we've been working together and get some little insights on that.
Yep. So we've been with you, I think, 2.5 years.
Yep.
And it was 2019, the summer of 2019. So obviously well before COVID. And then, I think our relationship deepened when COVID hit. We talk quite often, especially the early days of COVID. We were talking on the weekends, and you were very gracious to be there for us. It wasn't just here's our schedule. It wasn't like a doctor's visit. David was accessible and available to us, which helped immensely. And we joined TMC in 2020, and that's been great. And you were largely instrumental in that. And they've been a great partner for some of the same things that you've helped us with, which is, just the networking, the relationships, and the perspective from other people in the industry. Being able to tap into that and not just get into a tunnel vision. And this is the way we do it at Alcova, because there's many ways to do it. And some people can, when they're doing it better, we want to learn from them.
That's a great point. I think there's an old proverb that says in war, or they're in a multitude of counselors, you wage war. Business can feel like war at times. Sometimes we're warring within. That's where executive coaching takes that out. And then there's times where we're warring with the competition, whether it be how to be competitive, what markets to go into. And that's where TMC is a great partner, and I'm very thrilled to be partnered with them. I'm glad that you're now a part of it. But it's more than just having TMC or having an advisor, business advisor, like from someone like myself who's got 49 years of experience in mortgage lending. It's really a combination and hearing different perspectives from different voices. Give us one last testimonial, if you can, wrap it up here in 3 minutes. Any testimonials that you have that you would like to share?
Well, I think when we started working, it was hard to envision, it was hard to envision us growing 160%, but you were able to help us put some things in place, keep us sane through COVID while we were growing that fast, with all the changes. You were a tremendous partner in that. Again, someone that we could go to that was detached from the situation, that wasn't tied up in the emotions of the moment or the situation, and give us really sound advice that helped us through that time period. And it was a very, very challenging time period. There were just so many things going on. And, those in the industry that are listening understand that. But you were that one calm person we could count on to give us great advice and a lot of wisdom. You've been in. It's not your first rodeo, so to speak. You've been in the industry for a long time, and that was really important to us as we navigated some. Let's call it what it was. It was really uncharted waters, not only for us but the entire industry.
Yeah. Yep. And I think the advantage when you have someone like myself who's talking to multiple companies, advising many companies, and a part of TMC, where I can pull on the resources from within TMC, it brings all that knowledge to a single place. And when you own an own business, I own 3 mortgage banking companies, owner operator of 3 mortgage banking companies, and I look at what I felt like I was in a silo by myself, and it's so valuable to have outside resources. Most importantly, I want to give you a plug, Bobby. For the TMC members watching this, I encourage you to get to meet Bobby Nicely. As his name suggests, he's a nice guy, really nicely. And then also his 2 other partners, they are wonderful. It's an amazing team. And TMC, get to know this company. Again, you may want to plug into them, just say, how are you so profitable? I'll tell you, one of their secrets is they don't follow every whim of the industry. Because there's 3 of them, it takes a little longer to get a decision made, but it's kept them on a steady course. So TMC members, get to know Bobby Nicely, as well as Rob and Billy, and what they do and the way they manage. Great example and a great resource. I'm thrilled that you're part of it. Amy, thank you again for giving us this audience and this time to be with you all and with your members, and appreciate it very much.
Thank you guys so much. That was amazing. Bobby, we were just talking about trying to get him to come to our conference in Miami, but we've got a bit of a scheduling conflict this year, but we're holding his feet to the fire to meet us in Chicago in September. So we look forward to it. Great story, you guys. I can't wait to send this out to our membership, so that they can also hear how successful your relationship has become. So I appreciate you on this maiden voyage of our first show,
Good to
and
be
all
on
the
it.
prep work, and look forward to doing another one soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Amy.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yes, bye.